Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy first. It's our first show of the summer because it's officially summer now. It's been officially summer here in Tucson for a few weeks now, at least. But anyways, I guess all you folks on the East Coast are getting this record heat as well, in the middle of the country. So we're not alone. I know we're more used to it than the rest of you guys here in Arizona, but hopefully you all are staying inside, stay in your air conditioning, do a little beading. It'll make you feel cooler, right? And, you know, if you want to pretend like you're in the desert, make a cactus. We had our fun project on Thursday. We made our prickly pear. Thanks for bearing with me on, I don't know what happened with my eyes. They're still puffy, but they don't hurt. I see fine. I don't have pink eye. It's definitely allergies. But it's getting better. So that's all I can say. So here we are, and it's week 25. So next week, middle of the year, we are halfway through the year. So I actually think this week, let's see. I think I am going to hold a 4th of July sale, and we will, I will put something out to advertise that. So I will make some sort of percentage off of orders that'll be off of everything I offer. The only thing it won't be off of is sometimes I make little special to order projects for some of you guys. Those I already give you a steep discount on. So, but all my kids' cards, bead mixes, all that stuff will be on sale. We're going to do 4th of July sale. And I may start it next week. I think we're still in June next week, right? So, I think we still got another week before we hit July. So we'll probably start it next week, and I'll maybe run it for 2 weeks. So if you've been waiting to get our new stuff, and hopefully I will get my act together this week. I fully admit I got distracted. When I start making seed bead projects, I go down rabbit holes because I have fun designing things, and then I have to make them, and they take a while. You know, like I had to make these earrings the other day, and they have cactus on them. I don't know if you can see them close. There we go. That was my fun design. Oh, and I will get those designs from the ones we made 2 weeks ago out there. I have most of it done. I just need to finish it up and convert it to a PDF so I can upload it to our group. And those will be available for members of our group for free. If you're interested in a kit, I can probably pull a kit together. I just need to know, and I need to know if you want the colorway that I used or if you want a different set of colors. Then we can talk about it. I don't know how much they would be, but I could throw those together, and we can talk about that. But like I said, if you've been waiting to get our newest cards, our Southwest, we're doing everything desert this year. Our Desert Southwest expansion deck is available, as well as we have our Desert Blooms bead mix, which we made these fun bracelets with. And we have our metal mix, which we've been playing with off and on. We've made a couple things like these earrings, which is Janelle one as for our May giveaway. We also made some earrings a couple weeks ago with flowers and some rattlesnakes and stuff. So, anyways, that metal mix, which we will continue to play with, is also available. The mead mix and the metal mix are $12. The cards are $16. If you buy the bundle, you get $5 off. If you buy just 2 of the items, you get $2 off. If you wait until after next weekend, you may get more off. I'll tell you what the sale is. So anyways, all right, if you're out there and watching, even if you're catching the replay, let me know you're out there. Love to know who's joining me. And if you haven't already, please like and follow Desert Cat Creations on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. I really need some people to subscribe on YouTube. So since Facebook doesn't save videos, what I do is I move all the videos over there afterwards. They're on YouTube as the Desert Cat Creations channel. I need 50 subscribers so I can start doing lives and be able to do a live in both places at the same time. So if you have an account on YouTube and you can subscribe, that would be wonderful. I would very much appreciate that. Anyways, so today we're going to draw our cards, see what we're going to make this week, and then I thought I'd make another project. We're going to use our base Deck 1 Bead Stash Challenge deck with the SoftFlex Surfs Up kit, and I don't know what we're going to make because we're going to draw cards to find out. so let's get it over, flip it over, and let's see what we're going to make this week for starters. All right, we got some zoom in a little bit. All right, so if you're new to us, Bead Stash Challenge is a series of, several decks of cards, right? And they're designed to sort of boost your creativity. So if you're one of those people that like makes the same thing all the time, makes something the same thing all the time but in different colors, or you have a big stash and you get overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, or you just feel like you're in a rut or something and you want to try something different, this is a great way to do it. So there's 3 types of cards that come in these decks, and not every deck has 3 types of cards. So the base deck has all 3 types of cards, and I recommend buying the base deck if you're interested at all. But then you can buy any of the other decks that you may or may not want. The other decks I call expansion decks, so they're not as large. They don't necessarily have all 3 types of cards. But our first deck, like I said, the base deck is deck 1. Then we have the color deck, which adds everything that color. So if you need to shake up the kinds of colors you're using and you need to think about new things, that's what the color deck's for. We also have the Sun and Sea deck. Hey Janelle, thanks. We're just getting ready to draw. We haven't gone on too far. I was running late. So anyways, we have the Sun and Sea deck. That's all things that are summer, beachy, focused. That one came out last summer. We also have the non-jewelry and findings deck, which is just that. All the make cards are things that are non-jewelry items. So like a bracelet helper or a napkin ring or a keychain, any of those kind of things. But it also has you make your own findings, like your ear wires, clasps, all sorts of things. And it helps you use your findings in your stash, right? And then our latest deck is our Desert Southwest deck, and it's all things deserty. Think Arizona and New Mexico, and it celebrates both our natural things around here as well as our culture, which is influenced by the Native Americans, the Mexicans, and all that good stuff you think of when you think of the Desert Southwest. So anyways, if you have any questions, just message me at Desert Cat Creations and I'll be happy to get back to you. So let's see what we're going to make this week. So I have all 5 of those decks shuffled in here. So my cards will include things from all sorts of decks. So we're going to make a short necklace. So I think that's, pretty sure that's from our Sun and Sea deck. So we actually made a short necklace last week. We're going to make another one this week. All right, the second kind of cards we have in these decks is the used cards. So these are things, hey Marica, these are the things that you pull out of your stash to use to make your project. And you'll see that my pile is running low here, but I do have cards from all of the decks in here. I usually draw 3 cards. If you're just getting started, you can just draw 1 card. Quite honestly, you could draw just one card from any of the 3 categories of cards if you wanted to just stimulate what you're going to make. If you already know what you want to make, but you don't know what you want to use to make it, you can just draw use cards. Anyways, you can draw whatever makes sense to you. So let's see what we're going to use. We're going to use bead caps or cones. All right. We are going to use red. So the bead caps or cones, I think, is actually from our base deck, and not the findings deck. And red is from our color deck, obviously, right? And we are going to use bead weaving in our design. All right. Okay. So that'll be interesting. So we've been doing bead weaving the last couple weeks. We made, seed beaded earrings. So that used bead weaving. So maybe we'll have to make a little weaved section to our necklace. We'll see how we make that work. All right, so the last type of cards we have are challenge cards, and I do have a big pile here because I usually only draw 1, right? So challenge cards add a theme to your design or some sort of design aspect to your design. Some of it can just throw a little spontaneity in your design, like we have a card that says have your family or a friend pick out your beads. So it gets other things involved to make you get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Now I realize that some people are like, oh, I feel like this is telling me what to do. Well, in some cases it is, in some cases it's just presenting you with some options, right? Some people take comfort in being told what to do, and other times you just have to come up with some creative, thoughtful ways of dealing with some of the cards you draw. So anyways, our challenge card today, this is from our new deck, is design something inspired by New Mexico. So if we think about that, so people are like, what? How do I do jewelry by state? So you think about that. So New Mexico has a lot of Native American and Mexican inspiration. So you could take the colors, you could take the styles from that. You could take, they're the home of growing chilies. I love I love a good hatch green chili. Sometimes you have to think outside the box to know that that's the whole point, right? Because, sometimes I come up with some things, and I'm sure that you and I've talked about this, that you've had that happen where, I've used combinations that I would have never considered, and I really like the way that some of them came out. So, it's really, it really can make you come up with something new and different. And especially if you're if you're people who sell things, sell their jewelry at crafts fairs, it's always nice to have something that's a little different from what everybody else is doing. So anyways, so New Mexico, like I said, think chili peppers, Native American, you can have that Mexican influence, you can have the beautiful, they have mountains, you have Santa Fe. We did our Santa Fe design a couple weeks ago on these earrings, which is why we used like the pinks and the blues, the pastels, because that kind of reminded me of the old Santa Fe style. Anyways, they have ranches in New Mexico, so we can go in all sorts of directions on New Mexico, which actually does not limit it for me, other than I have to make sure that I come up with something that would make people think of New Mexico. So, all right, so we will be making a short necklace. We will be using red. We will be using bead weaving. We will be using bead caps, and it'll be like I said, a short necklace. So Thursday we will make that live for you, and we'll just have to see what that is, because I have no idea. And other than what do I have to, let's see, I got to find bead caps in red, and then I got to think about the bead weaving. So, and for me, I don't own a lot of red because it's not a good color on me. So I usually only deal with red around Christmas and Valentine's Day, but we will be making something red coming up. So, all right. So last week we made this necklace out of the Surfs Up bead kit. So I just thought we'd make another project. Now I'm going to draw cards today though, because I didn't know what I wanted to make. So let's see. So we do have some leftover beads from our necklace. These are from the Surfs Up bead beads that came with the kit, as well as the extra bead. There's a string of beads, bead string that comes along with it. We've certainly got beads we haven't used, so we've got little beach balls. We've got some really kind of pretty turquoisey beads and some little tiny beads there. And then there's a whole bead mix. We've got charms, and we've got just some other glass beads in here. So, you know, this kit in particular would work fine with the Sun and Sea deck by itself, but we are going to use the base deck and not the Sun and Sea deck today. So let's see. And, you know, depending on what kind of bead kit you're using with your cards, you may or may not have a whole lot of selection of things. So, you know, some people's kits, and there's somebody out there that do those monthly kits. Some of them are, you know, just beads. This one at least has beads and findings. Bargain Bead Box has beads and findings. This one also comes with, you know, beading wire, because that's their product. Most of them you'll have to add your own wire or stringing materials. But anyways, just as you're working with your cards and with those bead mixes, you'll have to see which cards make sense to do it. So, all right, what do we want to make? We're going to make an anklet today. All right, so that's beachy. That's fun. Now, to make an anklet, it's mostly just making a bracelet, but making it a little larger. So most anklets are like 8.5 to 9 inches, unless, you know, you're making it for a child or somebody with larger ankles. But the average ankle is about 8.5 to 9 inch length should do it. Personally, I will try it on my ankle and measure it just to make sure. All right. Now we're going to draw some used cards, but because we're using the kit here, and I haven't opened up this bead mix. I thought I opened it. Did I not? It appears to still be taped closed. Oh no, I can't get into my beads. Right. Make sure. All right, there we go. So, yeah, I hadn't opened this. Well, we have to, let's look and see what we had to work with here. We've got a few other things. And the reason I say that is because we may or may not have something in our collection unless we want to pull something else out. So using spacer beads in our design. So we have that. We have some metal ones. We also have some small turquoise beads in there. That'll work fine. Use crystals. So we got some crystals in there. That's fine. And use chain. Okay, so we don't have any chain. Now I could pull some out of my stash, but I don't have any readily available, so I'm going to put that back. And use a focal bead. So we can make something into a focal bead here. That's fine. I'll move that out of the way. Now, since this already has a theme to it, I don't necessarily have to use a challenge card. Now, the challenge cards in deck 1 are not necessarily thematic, although they might be, but I guess I should shuffle these. We'll draw one and see if it works for what we're going to make here for our anklet. So, with what we've got to work with. All right. Let's see what. So, make a design inspired by where I live. You know, actually, I think I can, even though this is a beachy kit, I think the colors actually work with that. Because, you know, in Arizona, you get a lot of, like some of our sand is sort of this peachy. We get some great sunsets. We have really blue sky. The turquoise is from here. So I think I can work with that. All right, so let me move these other cards out of the way. So anyways, that's kind of how I can apply this deck to one of these monthly kits. Yeah, Janelle, I don't buy their kits all the time, but the colors in here obviously attracted me. Now, so since I have to make this inspired by Arizona, probably not going to use my beachy beads, although I'll think about that. Maybe not the beach balls either. Certainly some of these, golly, we'll just add these to the mix here. So, you know, I could use these bamboo beads again and make something that goes with my necklace here. But let me save those. Let me just set them aside for the moment. We'll see. And like I said, I've got these little tiny teal check glass in here, as well as these beads. Now, let's see, I have to use a focal bead. So, you know, for an anklet, I would say the focal doesn't have to be gigantic. It just has to be bigger than the rest of the beads in the design, right? So we've got a couple options that they've given us here. And actually, that is how I could pull in some of those other, the beachy beads, right? We don't have any beaches here in Arizona, but we do have lakes and such. So, all right, so we're making an anklet. We have to use spacer beads and crystals in a focal bead. All right. I'm going to pull this out just as an option. So for focal bead, I think those are my options. What do you think? 1, 2, or 3. So we got this kind of turquoisey thing. And these two are both crystals, so it counts towards our using our crystals. I'm gonna, while you guys are thinking about that, I am gonna pull out some of these spacer beads, so I have those handy. We have a lot of sand, just no more. Well, you know, we have pools, yeah, but we do have palm trees. So I got one vote for number 3. Yeah, it's a little more angle sized. All right. So get out. Some square metal beads. Now, the other thing, you know, that the SoftFlex kits also have for you is they always come with at least one set of ear wires and a lobster clip usually. So we will use that lobster clip for our thing. So, all right, if we use that as our center, I want to use some of these, you know, orange to represent our orangey sunsets around here. And, you know, it's always like turquoise jewelry everywhere here, right? Which you can never go wrong with turquoise. Oh, these are kind of sandy colored. Actually surprised I didn't look into I hadn't opened this already because I thought I had colors are fun. So it's they always have these Jesse James bead mixes, and there's always tassels. So if you're a tassel person, these kits, any of the Jesse James bead mixes that SoftFlex has, I'm gonna put some of these bigger beads back because I don't need those with my focal. Also not going to use these, I don't know, kind of interesting bead caps, but they make it a little beachy for me, so I'm going to put those back. So we've got all sorts of beads in here. Put these, put the metal ones back too. All right. Might have to pull some of these bead caps out for my this week's project, huh? So, all right. So maybe these are kind of sandy colored. Orange. Don't know that I want to put, these are thick, so I think I'll put those aside. And we'll just make it work with this pile of stuff here. All right. And leave the spacer beads here off to the side. Those must be from the bead strand. Just seem to have a single all right. You have to make French term. Well, I'll tell you, Janelle, that I don't know if you logged on after I showed you my earrings that I just made. I've now made like 3 or 4 pairs since last week. I used to think I wouldn't like them, and I've been having too much fun making them this week. I'll show them again after we make our anklet here. So, all right. I'm just gonna take that off there. All right. So when I make anklets, just from the fitting it standpoint, I like to, I actually like to put my clasp near kind of what I consider being the focal. I just think it makes it easier to size it, although I don't have to. Maybe we'll do something different. And actually, you know what, since this is all gold, I'm going to pull a gold lobster clip out of my stash here. Just, not that I have a problem with mixed metals, because I don't, but I'm just going to match it up a little bit here. All right. So we've got different sizes. Oh, you know what? Sometimes I like to group these, and it makes it look kind of like a bead. I know I won't have that many that I can put in here, but I can put a couple in, so that's kind of fun. So, you know, spacer beads don't necessarily have to be used between each bead, but I like that though. All right, maybe I'll do that here. I'm not gonna up, and we can do that one more time. Oh, actually, I don't have. I think I'm sure. Oh, because it fell back in. You know, sometimes you don't get the right number of pieces, but you think it will go outside the box with the fringe. Okay. I'll look forward to seeing what you make there, Janelda. So. I am just throwing beads down here and seeing how it looks. I'm loving the colors, although, you know, gold's not my favorite, but I'll, you know, we'll make it work. Be another gold. So I might have to start stringing this just to see how long it is. Before I add on. Let's go ahead and string this up. So this time they sent us fluorite, which is kind of a light greenish blue, which is pretty. I feel like I need a small bead at the end, so let's pull out. Let's pull out these small beads, so, and then we'll see what this looks like. And you know, if I don't like it, we'll just sort of mix it up a little, huh? I'll string up half of this design and we'll take a look at it, because there's no point in doing both halves unless we like it. And it'll also give me a chance to figure out my length here, how much further I have to go. And then you can see how these little spacers being stacked kind of looks like a bead. if you have the wavy spacers, like there were some in here in different sizes, they're also fun to stack and make it look like a bead. All right, so there's our focal. So here's what I have so far. So see that those stacked daisy spacers end up looking kind of cool. But this also tells me, let me get my ruler. Let me see how. So, this is going to come across bracelet length, so I need to still add an extra couple of inches on here. So I have a couple options. I can keep going with this design, and then before I do the other side, I can come back and add the new beads to the other side. So I think I will do that just so I don't have to restring everything here. So. So, like I said, if you're making this stuff with the cards, you can certainly add stuff from your stash. You don't have to limit yourself to just what's in the kit. But, if you like the challenge of just working with what's in this month's kit, you can do that as well. So. All right, so let's see where we are lengthwise. Like I said, I think we need to add, so that clasp will add another 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So we need at least another inch or 1/2 inch on this end. So I'm going to put that on, and then I'm going to put one to go on the other side, right? And we'll do another peach. I'm just do some sort of random stuff here. Let's see. All right, so what did I say? I want this. All right, we are going to see if that works. Just because I don't trust the length on this. Usually I would go ahead and put the loop or the clasp on, but I am going to use my bead stopper. And then I'm going to give myself some room here on the other end. I go ahead and cut my wire, and then I need to add, I'll take my little bead off there first. And then we need to add our beads, right? So. See where we're at. I did say, you know, like I said, this is a very beachy kit to me, but these colors are very southwesty. To me as well. All right. Now, I'm going to stick it around my ankle and see what's... thinking maybe just another add on. You see southwest colors in these too? Yeah. Like I said, I think some of the beads itself, like this has, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's kind of a pattern. It looks to me like a stingray. It would be a really cool kind of a stingray design. And I actually have some stingray buttons that I use to make, I think, an anklet. They were just so cute. I had to buy them, so. All right, so let me. I think this will work. So let's go ahead and put our clasp on one end. Now, this came with silver crimps, and even though I'm using a gold lobster, I'm going to go ahead and just use silver. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Because you know what? It's on my ankle, so I don't think anybody's going to be paying that much attention to the fact that I have gold and silver on my ankle. So, and if they are, they're way too close to my leg. That's all I have to say. So, all right, we're going to use our magic crimper. Woohoo! So it's ravioli time. So we're sticking it in the little divot. Center it as well as you can. And squeeze, and when you open it, you have something that looks like a little ravioli, and then you turn it 90 degrees, stick it back in there, centered, squeeze, and then just squeeze it gently as you turn it. Till you get something that looks just like a little bead there. All right, now to see if it'll fit through our closest bead. Sometimes the has a little trouble getting through this small bead, which it's nice if it does go through, because then it gives you some security. I don't know that it's gonna go through there though. All right, I'm using my pliers to gently push the wires up against the bead. I think it is going to go through. I just got to get that bead past that. It is sticking out. There we go. All right, now I have both sides out far enough that I can hold on to that and push down. All right, so the good news is, like I said, even if my crimp were to fail, that bead's probably gonna keep my wires together unless the bead breaks. So now we're just gonna push things on down. And, you know, remember, you want a little bit of a tail to go back through there in case something fails. But like I said, I think we're in pretty good shape there. All right, let me get that off. So now we're just going to make a loop for this to hook into. And I did end up with way more wire than I needed, but you know, it's better to have too much. All right, let's see if we can get it through our small bead this time. Be a little more of a challenge from this side. All right, I got it through. All right, now that's the hard one, but we're going to pull our tail through. Let's drop my stuff in my lap here. All right, now I'm going to hold on to this loop and I'm going to push both the crimp and that bead down, but I do want to stick this tail through a couple more beads. Like I said, it's really up to you how many. I usually like to do, you know, 2 or 3 if I can, just because that's what makes me comfortable. But we're gonna push our beads down, and then because this bead is so tight, you may have to use your pliers, and then I just use my fingernails to push it down. Don't want too much space. And then, you know, just carefully pull that until you have a loop the size you want. It's usually a good size loop. Check it around my ankle. You know, the other advantage is you can't always go by length. Sometimes you do have to fit things to your wrist or your ankle because, you know, depending on how big your beads are or thick your beads are, you may have to make it a little longer because you lose some space in your circumference. But I think this is pretty good. I'm going to pull it just a tad more. All right. All right, so one more. Let's do our ravioli. And then our 90 degrees. And we've got our little bead from our crimp. So, all right, now you want to cut off your excess. Be careful that you don't accidentally cut your main wire. Now, you've got a couple inches here. I'm actually going to keep this, you know, because you never know when you might want a small loop if you're making earrings or something. So I actually have a little baggie that I keep my pieces of wire, beading wire that are left over from projects. I also have one for leather because I often use small pieces of leather. Just like last week's this necklace, I had to my leather ended up being a little shorter than I wanted, so I ended up having to add an extra loop just to make it to where it felt comfortable on my neck. So having those little pieces of leather is always nice to have. So, all right, so here's our anklet. Let me get my tools out of the way. And here we go. We will wrap that in there, and yay, we made an anklet. So let's make sure we hit all our criteria. You have a bag, just like, yeah. I keep losing my bag, but I have my bag, yeah. So we made an anklet. So remember, an anklet is just a bracelet that's about 8 to 9 inches. And let's measure this again. I'll tell you what it actually came out to, right? So it actually came out a little over 9. It's a little loose, but not so loose that it'll drive me crazy. But all right, then we had to use spacer beads. So we used some metal spacer beads, multiple places throughout. Crystals, we have crystals in here, all sorts of kinds of crystals, right? We used a focal bead. So like I said, I really think the only criteria for focal bead is that it has to be something that's sort of in the center, and usually it's larger than the rest of the things. And we made a design inspired where I live. So even though this is a beachy kind of kit, I think the beads, by not using any of the specific beachy beads in this kit, I made something that reminds me of the Southwest with the corals and the turquoises and the sand colors. So I think we accomplished our mission today. So that was fun. So, all right, let me get you look around. All right, here I am. So Janelle, I was showing off these were my latest Fringe earrings. They have little cacti. I don't know if you can see them, but I get carried away designing. I like designing little bead patterns. So anyways, I will post the skulls and the fringe earrings that we made last week. Hopefully later on today, tomorrow at the earliest or the latest, because so they will be in the group. They're going to be put in the files. I'll probably also attach it to a post, but those are there if you guys want them, you know. If you don't, then that's fine too. I can also put some graph paper in case you guys don't have anything to work out your design on. Let me know. What I did was take some of the graph paper that is free out there, and I stacked it and made it so that you have a brick stitch part. Some of it's the single bead, and some of it's the double bead. And then the bottom is just, you know, the straight for the fringe, right? So if you guys need me to post that, I can do that as well in the group. So and again, if you join me late, I will be running a 4th of July sale. I can't believe we're mid-year. So if anybody's been waiting to get something, this will be the time to do it. And I also hope to have a new kit for you guys before too long. I have been delinquent on putting it together, but I will I will get to work on that. So hopefully you guys will get to see that. It may not be in time for the sale, but you know, there's always next time, right? So, all right. So yeah, we'll probably start the 4th of July sale next week. After next Sunday. So before the 4th. And I'll probably go for 2 weeks. So I will let you guys know more about that as I put it together. And as always, thanks again for following me. Please like and follow Desert Cat Creations on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. All the videos are being transferred to YouTube, so these lives, they only stay on Facebook for 30 days these days. So if you need something that's further back than that, it's in the it'll be on our channel on YouTube. And if you just want to see pictures of the projects, join our group. I keep an album in there, and I need to update it. I have not loaded in a couple weeks the projects, but it has all of our Bead Stash Challenge designs for the last 2 years. And I think it's searchable, so like if you're drawing a card and you're like, I don't really know where to go with this, you should be able to search in the group and see what we did, okay? Assuming the card has come up. Now, I'm pretty sure that I've been through all the cards, except for the new deck, so, within the last 2 years. So hopefully you'll find those. And I do try to use the keywords that make it easy to find. But yeah, if you have any questions, just like I said, reach out. I will answer you. Message me at Desert Cat Creations, or you can message Paula Montgomery, although there's more than one Paula Montgomery out there, so it may be easier to find Desert Cat Creations. So you can always go to our page and message us from there, and I will get back to you. And if you're following us on YouTube and you're seeing this and you want to place an order, or you want to ask a question, feel free to comment. It sends me an email. I will respond to you directly, and we can figure out a way to answer whatever questions you have, and help you if you want to purchase any of our products. So, all right, I hope you guys have a great week. We will be back on Thursday to make our short necklace using bead caps or cones, using bead weaving, using red, and it'll be inspired by New Mexico. And actually, I think I totally know one of the things I'm going to use for red with that combination of cards from my stash. This is important, right? So that we go through these things and get to be using stuff in our stash. All right. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you all on Thursday.